everybody, and welcome back. I am the Sovereign, and this is my court. If this is your first time in attendance, hello. Please consider hitting the subscribe button before you leave our kingdom. We call to order the second Privy Council, and we are going to talk about Donald Trump's ban from Twitter. For those of you who are unaware, or maybe you live outside of the United States, now let me catch you up real quick so you understand what we're dealing with here. About a week ago, Donald Trump incited a crowd to march on the Capitol building while the congressional leaders were certifying the election in favor of Joe Biden. Obviously, Donald Trump did not like this. He has been telling people that the election was unfair, that the election was rigged, and he incited the angry mob to go to the Capitol to entice congressional leaders to withhold the results or audit the results or change the results. And when they got to the Capitol, they ended up breaking in, fighting with police. Inevitably, one person was shot. A police officer did sustain injuries and die from what happened at the Capitol building. And congressional leadership is pissed. The American people are pissed. And world leaders are also pissed off. So this is just to catch you up to what's going on to today. Now, since then, Trump has been banned on Twitter, but not just Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, all of these different platforms, including Parler, has been taken off of Apple, taken off of Google Play Store. Parler was the app that a lot of Trump supporters were using to voice their displeasure and support Trump. And the reason that these bans are being implemented is because of the insurrection that happened at the Capitol building and the violence that was sustained there. Now, a lot of people are very upset about these bans. Trump supporters are pissed off. We actually haven't heard from him because there's no way for him to converse with the general public anymore. Now, in my heart of hearts, I have to admit that I enjoy living in a world free of Donald Trump's tweets. I have to admit, in my heart of hearts and my soul of souls, I am so happy that I do not have to hear from him. However, I am not unfair. And I am not unwilling to take a look at both sides of an argument. And I do have to admit that the censorship is troubling, and Trump supporters might have a point. I know. Before you guys flip out and try to massacre me, we need to look at this from an objective perspective. So number one, I know a lot of Trump supporters are saying this is a freedom of speech issue. This is a freedom of speech issue. We should be able to support whoever we want to support and whoever we want to say. Okay, let's explore freedom of speech. Background, because I know a lot of people are going to try me in the future. You're going to try. You're going to fail, but I know you're going to try. I'm a political science major, and even this semester, I am taking constitutional law classes. So just saying, not to say that people who aren't taking law can't know their rights or can't know their country's laws. So that really shouldn't even have to be something I have to state. But I know people are going to try me in the comments section. So there you go. Now, we need to talk about freedom of speech. In the United States, if you don't know, we are guaranteed certain rights under our Constitution, freedom of speech being the First Amendment. But not all speech is protected speech, and people seem to forget that. So let's go through some forms of speech that are not protected. Slander, defamation, fighting words, even obscenity, libel. There are certain forms of speech that actually are not protected. So don't think you can just go around saying certain things and you're protected under free speech. And under the First Amendment, advocacy of an illegal action is not a protected form of speech. So when Trump stood on a podium and told people to march to the Capitol, and he's like, I will march with you. I will go with you. That's not protected speech. He incited an illegal action. And it is, in fact, an illegal action to intimidate members of a political party to change votes or to disrupt an election. Those congressional leaders were carrying on with official government business. Even Rudy Giuliani himself stood on a podium and said,
let's have trial by combat.
Let's have trial by combat. So for those of you in the comment section who are going to feign stupidity or ignorance, cut it out. It's on camera. So if we're going to dispute fact, see yourself out. I don't have the patience. I'm not going to deal with it. I definitely do encourage debate by both sides, but you must use facts to support your conclusions. Otherwise, you are just a clown, and we are going to laugh at you. I'm laughing. I'm going to laugh at you. So Fair warning. Now, when I first heard about the Twitter ban, you guys saw it on Twitter, because I'm on Twitter. My little heart was a flutter. I was fluttering around butterfly wings, because I'm like, thank God we are just done with his nonsense. Thank God I do not have to wake up to another Trump tweet talking about something that doesn't exist. Like, thank God. But what I did not expect is for every other platform to come down on him. I did not expect that. And when I saw that he and other Trump supporters were being mass banned, then I took a pause. And even Angela Merkel herself, the chancellor for Germany, spoke out against Trump's Twitter ban. And at first, I was very alarmed because though I dislike Trump, the threat of censorship to the general public is a much larger threat than anything Trump could pose, even though he tries to be a huge threat. Censorship is something we should all be terrified of. Now, once again, we got to think about this from all sides. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these different places are independent businesses that have their own laws and rules, and no one gets to tell them how they run their platforms. That's like coming into your house, and a lot of people have this rule where you don't cuss in their house. People get to make the rules that happen within their house. No one can tell you what to do within your house. Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, all that, they are their own entities and get to run it however they want. However, the issue of censorship is a problem. So let's just think about this for a second. Imagine if the American Revolution had happened during a time where Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and social media was around. Imagine Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison being on Twitter and talking about separating from the English government and King Charles III. Imagine had that all happened on Twitter. King Charles would have basically accused the founding fathers of the same thing that we're accusing Trump of. He would have said, you're inciting violence. You are encouraging rioting against when it came to the Boston Tea Party. They would have faced the same negative backlash. And imagine had King Charles had the ability to shut down our founding fathers, had the ability to just silence our founding fathers and not allow for the dissent. That is what's frightening to me, because citizens need to be able to have the ability to voice their displeasure with the government. Now, once again, take a look at both sides. This is why it's very complex. And this is why, honestly, the congressional leadership does have a very tough job, because you cannot be allowed to incite violence. You cannot be allowed to incite violence. That's the issue. That's where the Trump supporters and Trump himself really messed up. They had the ability to voice their displeasure, but it's the violence issue that was the thing. And I know you guys are going to call out Black Lives Matter. Let me get there. I think we need to discuss the difference between what happened at the Capitol building and the Black Lives Matter thing. And I don't want to, MAGA people, understand I'm not trying to attack you, but I think there's some lessons to be learned from Black people here. You could have benefited from learning things that Black people have known for centuries. Okay, so let me explain some things to you why people are a little bit more bent out of shape about what you did versus the Black Lives Matter thing. Because when Black Lives Matter happened and the George Floyd protests happened, Black people went after Targets, they went after random buildings, they did do the whole looting thing. That did happen. I do not dispute that. But MAGA people, you did the one thing that even Black people on their worst day would never do. You pissed off the white folk. You pissed off the rich white folk. You don't do that. Black people, no matter how upset we are, we will go after an empty Target, not the CEO's house. We'll go after an empty Target and take some chips. That's as far as we go, because even when we are at our worst and we are so pissed off, we still know our place. MAGA supporters not attacking you. You don't know how to be a minority. The one thing you do not want to do in the United States is scare powerful white people. And that's what you went too far in doing. This is one thing, Black people could not pull this off. And I think MAGA people are oblivious to the type of power that they have, even more so. It took Black Lives Matter a month of rioting in all 50 states before we could get somewhere with the whole George Floyd thing, before we could get somewhere with the whole Breonna Taylor thing. Do you guys remember that clip, mayors or something walking through a Black Lives Matter crowd after he tried to speak to them? That man was not touched. Not even attempted to be touched. He didn't even need security with him, because Black people on their worst day know better than to mess with the powerful, rich white people. And like I was saying, it took Black Lives Matter rioting for a month in all 50 states to get some action to happen. MAGA supporters were able to get inside the congressional building in a few hours. In a few hours. In a few hours, you MAGA people were able to get this close to overthrow of the government. Black people don't have that type of power. We could never. And that's where the MAGA people messed up. You scared the people that you shouldn't have, and you got too close to your goal. And the violence that MAGA supporters were able to perpetuate on the steps and inside the Capitol is way more than the violence that every Black person in the entire United States could ever come close to. That's why they didn't come down on Black Lives Matter the way that they came down on MAGA. You guys went after the rich white folk, the seat of power, the epitome of our government leadership, and you got too close. Now, under no circumstances are we allowed to equate what happened at the Capitol building with what happened at Target, okay? It's Target. You guys tried to overthrow the government. There is a cavern, a freaking Grand Canyon of a difference between the two of those. It is warranted, not just legally, but ethically, to deactivate these people. Now, from what I understand, they are only taking the accounts from the people who were present at the Capitol. From what I understand, those are the only people losing out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. Like, that's all that's happening. If they were going after every single Trump supporter there was, that is a problem. And I 100% would say you can't do that. Regardless of how I feel about MAGA supporters, you cannot silence all of them. That is ethically immoral and very dangerous to the stability of the United States. But it is 100% warranted and legal to take away the public presence from people who actually tried to instigate and overthrow the United States government. But in this situation, a bit of caution would be advisable because, like I said when I talked about the founding fathers, this type of censorship is a very slippery slope. This type of control is very, very concerning, and I'm side-eyeing how quickly all these massive multimedia platforms suddenly came together against MAGA so easily and so immediately. We hardly ever see that type of action implemented in the United States, not with that type of speed. If Trump was just on Twitter saying nonsense, if Trump was just on Twitter calling Joe Biden or whatever the heck he likes to call Joe Biden, because we know he likes to make up funny names, if he was just on Twitter just doing his thing, then I would be like, no, you cannot just ban him simply because we don't like his words. No, we can't just ban MAGA supporters, even though, like, in my heart of hearts, I gleefully kind of like it. I'm not going to be unbiased, and I'm not going to advocate for anything that's going to be to the detriment of democracy. You can't do that no matter how much you don't like that, but you cannot advocate for the overthrow of a government. That's where you messed up. Had MAGA supporters decided to go after Walmart because Walmart supports Black Lives Matter, then fair is fair. But targeting the government was where you stepped out of place. And no matter how much you want to cry about it, the Constitution does not guarantee you the right to Twitter. The Constitution does not guarantee you the right to Instagram. The Constitution does not guarantee you the right to have your voice heard by the general public. Like, everybody can choose to ignore you because technically Trump hasn't been silenced. He still has access to his press pool. He still has access to TV cameras. He still has access to ways of speaking. But it's just these platforms that aren't going to support him anymore, which is their right. It's their right. Now, some people are going to be like, well, we need a state-sponsored freaking social media platform. Really? Let's not go there. Think China. Let's, because I thought the same thing. And then I was like, no, let's not do that. But, I understand the concern between the 2 points. I understand the concern over censorship. As a YouTuber, I have to be aware of censorship, but they just went too far. And so that's where I'm drawing the line. For those of the people who actually went to the point of stepping within the congressional building itself, you went too far and you deserve to be banned. Now, if I find out that Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is just silencing MAGA supporters in general, if they are just silencing, people who are in support of Trump, no matter how much I disagree with them, if they are just, I'm a Trump supporter, you can't do that. As far as I know, that's not happening. But if it is happening, I'm saying right now, you can't do that. You cannot just silence people that you have a disagreement with. I encourage discussion here in my comment section, here in my court. You can have the discussion if you are on the opposite end. If you think something different, you can have the discussion, and I allow for dissent as long as it's respectable. As long as you do it with respect, because you come in here flinging insults and names, and I'm going to drag you in the comment section. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I told you ahead of time, don't do it. But if you want to respectfully disagree and you want to voice, your concerns, and you want to lay out some facts, absolutely. That's what a functioning democracy is. Not to say that my channel is a democracy, because hello, but I allow for it here. But the United States cannot fall down the rabbit hole, go down the slippery slope of just silencing MAGA supporters. And I'm calling them MAGA supporters and not Republicans, because I have respect for Republicans. And just because you're a Republican does not mean you support Trump. I make that distinction. So just so you know, in the comment section below, let me know what you think about this issue. Do you think that this is just holy hell, this is censorship? Or are you just no, yeah, they kind of went a bit far and a cop got beat with an American flag on the grounds of Congress? Wow. Just saying that sentence. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It's okay if we have disagreements here. I am doing Privy Council so that those of us who have the intellect to know the differences and who keep up with these things can have a discussion, something that we can all learn from. If you're one of the crazies that want to just perpetuate nonsense without any supporting facts, good luck. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. And if you are not a member of the court, please consider hitting the subscribe button so that I can have further discussions with you. Privy Council will continue. It has to, because it's the United States. What are we living in right now? I love you. I'll miss you, but I will be back in a future video. Bye.